Identifying cost control requirements. Project cost control is much more than just collecting expenditures and issuing reports. Sound cost control involves a number of tasks, including establishing a version of the project budget that is consistent with how the money will be spent, regularly collecting actual costs to date, which includes work in progress, examining cost trends, forecasting the cost of the remaining work, comparing the estimated total cost with the approved budget, which includes approved budget changes, and determining total budget or project cost variance, comparing that variance with the previous reported variance to arrive at the period variance, and for management attention when not within bounds. Why is project cost control so important? Project cost control and management is so important in project management today because financial management is a way of life in all organizations. Financially successful organizations depend on strict financial control and the corporate accounting to support it. Most people understand the consequences of money running out. Cost is seen as a major metric of successful project management. General project cost and cost control issues. During the execution of a project, procedures for project control and record keeping become indispensable. These tools serve the dual purpose of recording the financial information as well as giving managers an indication of the progress and problems associated with a project. The problems of project control are aptly summed up in an old definition of a project as any collection of vaguely related activities that are 90% complete, over budget, and late. The task of project control systems is to give a fair indication of the existence and the extent of such problems. It should be noted that project control procedures are primarily intended for identifying deviations from the project plan rather than to suggest possible areas for cost savings. The time at which major cost savings can be achieved is during planning and design for the project. During the actual construction, changes are likely to delay the project and lead to cost increases. As a result, the focus of project control is on fulfilling the original design plans or indicating deviations from these plans, rather than on searching for significant improvements and cost savings. Forecasting for activity cost control. For the purpose of project management and cost control, it is not sufficient to consider only the past record of costs and revenues incurred in a project. Good managers should focus upon future revenues, future costs, and technical problems. Generally, past expenditures represent sunk costs that cannot be altered in the future and may or may not be relevant in the future. For example, after the completion of some activity, it may be discovered that some quantity flaw renders the work useless. Unfortunately, the resources expended on the flawed construction will generally be sunk and cannot be recovered for reconstruction, although it may be possible depending on who assumes the risk for the quality of the finished product. Since financial accounts are historical in nature, some means of forecasting or projecting the future course of a project is essential for management control. In this section, some methods for cost control and simple forecasts are described. An example of forecasting used to assess the project status is shown in the table. In this example, costs are reported in 5 categories, representing the sum of all various cost accounts associated with each category. Budgeted cost. The budgeted cost is derived from the detailed cost estimate prepared at the start of the project. The factors of cost would be referenced by cost account and by a prose description. Estimated total cost. The estimated or forecast total cost in each category is the current best estimate of costs based on progress and any changes since the budget was formed. Estimated total costs are the sum of costs to date, commitments, and exposure. Methods for estimating total costs are described below. Cost committed and cost expenditure. Estimated cost to completion in each category is divided into firm commitments and estimated additional cost or exposure. Commitments may represent material orders or subcontracts for which firm dollar amounts have been committed. Cost to date. The actual cost incurred to date is recorded in column 6 and can be derived from the financial record keeping accounts. Over or under. A final column in the table indicates the amount over or under the budget for each category. This column is an indicator of the extent of variance from the project budget. Items with unusually large overruns would represent a particular managerial concern. Note that variance is used in the terminology of project control to indicate a difference between budgeted and actual expenditures. The term is defined and used quite differently in statistics or mathematical analysis. In the table, labour costs are running higher than expected, whereas subcontracts are less than expected. The current status of the project is a forecast budget overrun of $5,950, with 23% of the budgeted project cost incurred to date. For project control, managers would focus particular attention on items indicating substantial deviation from budgeted amounts. In particular, the cost overruns in the labour and the other expense category would be worthy of attention by a project manager in the table. A next step would be to look in greater detail at the various components of these categories. Overruns in costs might be due to lower than expected productivity, higher than expected wage rates, higher than expected material costs, or other factors. Even further, low productivity might be caused by inadequate training, lack of required resources such as equipment or tools, or inordinate amounts of rework to correct quality problems. Review of a job status report is only the first step in project control. Estimating the total cost to complete an activity. If we have set up the budget in the same units and way in which we will measure the work, it will make comparison of actual costs against the budget quite easy. One thing we must consider is that the actual cost we have expended needs also to be compared against the percentage work complete as well as the percentage budget. For example, in the following figure, Point A suggests a higher expenditure than is normal for the work completed. This point represents 40% of work completed with an expenditure of 60% of the budget. Since the historical record suggests only 50% of the budget should be expended at time of 40% completion, a 60 minus 50 equals 10% overrun in cost is expected even if work efficiency can be increased to historical averages. If comparable cost overruns continue to accumulate, then the cost to complete will be even higher. schedule and budget updates. Periodic updating of future activity durations and budgets is especially important to avoid excessive optimism in projects experiencing problems. If one type of activity experiences delays on a project, then related activities are also likely to be delayed unless managerial changes are made. Construction projects normally involve numerous activities which are closely related due to the use of similar materials, equipment, workers, or site characteristics. Expected cost changes should also be propagated throughout a project plan. In essence, duration and cost estimates for future activities should be revised in light of actual experience on the job. Without this updating, project financials may not be accurately forecast. Relating cost and schedule information. Costs associated with particular activities are usually estimated by summing expenses in all cost accounts directly related to an activity plus a proportion of expenses in cost accounts used jointly by two or more activities. The basis of cost allocation would typically be the level of effort or resource required by the different activities. For example, costs associated with supervision might be allocated to different concreting activities on the basis of the amount of work, which is measured in cubic yards of concrete, in the different activities. With these allocations, cost estimates for particular work activities can be obtained.